The girl pounces. Faster than my eyes can follow, she lands on the man's chest, and they hit the ground. He screams and waves his gun. She slaps it out of his hand. She snarls, bends over him, and rips his throat open. Blood spatters the girl in the snow. He tries to pry her off him with feeble attempts, but she has a strong grip on him. She holds him tight as she sucks his blood like a leech. The man gurgles his last cry, and I watch in horror as his body twitches twice before he stops moving. Her cold, violet eyes stare at me. Her mouth and neck are smeared with blood and bits of flesh. My teeth are chattering, goosebumps all over my body. I feel nauseous from dread and utter fear. I can't outrun such a terrifying beast. I thought I'd witnessed it all, but it turns out I'm wrong. I should be happy, but I'm terrified. Her lips, slightly parted because of her sharp fangs, turn into a sneer. "Hello, Leia," Sophie says. "Aren't you going to thank me for saving your ass yet again?" And that is an excerpt from the book I'll be reviewing today, Nocturnal Blood by Villimey Mist. Hello everybody, welcome to DeathGroundReviews, and on this channel I talk about horror, suspense, and tales of the fantastic. Today's book, Nocturnal Blood by Villimey Mist, and I absolutely love the cover art on these books. That was one of the main things that really attracted me to them when I first saw them on Twitter. She signed this one for me. The message says, "I hope you enjoy this road trip of horror." And that rings true because the road trip is very pertinent to the plot of this story. So Nocturnal Blood, it's about Leia and Sophie. And these two girls, they've been friends since early childhood. And Leia's a girl that she struggles with anxiety. She kind of struggles with obsessive-compulsive personality traits. And Sophie, and she's bullied a lot. My other kids in the school bully her all the time. And Sophie's a girl that's a bit tougher. She steps in and stands up for Leia, stands up and fights for her. And this really unites them in a strong friendship. But Sophie ends up moving away. And they're kind of pen pals for a period, but then Sophie mysteriously just vanishes. And she doesn't hear from her for years. But then some mysterious bad things start happening in Anchorage. People start turning up dead. And, the police are investigating, trying to find the serial killer. Well, Leia soon discovers that Sophie's the main culprit in this. She's become a vampire. And that scene I read in the introduction, that's the reunion moment. Because Leia's attacked by this mugger and Sophie steps in and kills the guy and sucks his blood. They end up on this road trip because she's attacked by this other vampire. And she kills the other vampire, and his faction wants revenge, wants to bring her to justice. And so Sophie ends up on the run, but she brings Leia along because Leia's in danger. Because these hunters and other vampires may kill Leia, use her as collateral damage, or attack her family. Sophie's the only one that can protect her. So, yeah, they're on the run, trying to reunite with Sophie's guardian, hopefully to be able to find a way to resolve this problem. And what did I think of this book? Villimey plays a lot with traditional vampire lore. I guess I gotta confess this first. I haven't read a lot of vampire books. I read Dracula, and I read Salem's Lot. And Salem's Lot's the most memorable for me. I read it most recently. And the vampires in that book they're detached. There's a mystery to them. And they're these fiendish, corrupt, just evil through and through type of creatures. Whereas in Villimey's world, there's a depth and kind of a human quality to them. I mean, they'll still shred you to pieces. If they're desperate enough for blood, they'll be absolutely cruel. And they're very vengeful to one another. And so there is a cruel aspect to them, but there's a hint of sympathy to them and loyalty and a lot of rules that make up their world. So there's an interesting kind of sense of depth to her vampire lore. But and I've got mixed feelings about it. I'm not sure what I think of it. Part of me is a little underwhelmed by it, a little disappointed. I guess it falls into that theme of the monster being just this misunderstood thing. And if we understood it better, it wouldn't be a monster anymore. That's the way it kind of feels to me. And I think that's why it disappoints me a little bit. Because I want my monsters to just be, man, flat out monsters. That's scary to me, I guess. That's scary to me. And so it challenges me a little bit. Maybe that's a good thing, though. I don't know. So I can't articulate to you a complete opinion about it yet. There's still more to the series to read. So there's a lot more I'm to discover about it. But, Villimey's a terrific writer, though. Her descriptive qualities are amazing. Very visceral, descriptions of attacks and fight scenes in the story. Her characters are pretty well developed, and their personalities are consistent throughout the story, and they have visible arcs to them. So there's definitely good qualities there in her writing. Other interesting things about the lore of the vampire in her story. So, like, religious crosses don't have any effect on the vampires. I'm not used to that, having only read Dracula and Salem's Lot. Like in Salem's Lot, you put a cross up and it burns that vampire, man. It's hissing in agony. Whereas some of the vampires in her world are religious. And, that kind of threw me off. Wasn't sure how to react to that. Kind of disappointed me. Garlic doesn't really affect him much. The sun's still brutal to him, though. They can't get away from that. In fact, that's a key challenge that Leia and Sophie face throughout the story. They're constantly having to stuff Sophie in the sleeping bag and tie it up so they can hide her from the sun while they're traveling in the day. So that was kind of a fun challenge for the characters in the story. But I guess I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts about that theme of, the monster just really being this misunderstood thing that if we understood it better, it's not really a monster? What are your thoughts on that? Because it's a common theme that shows up in horror stories, and I've got mixed feelings about it. Part of the reason why I have mixed feelings is, like I said, it's just not as scary to me, but yet at the same time, there's kind of a reality to it, right? Because sometimes we do just misunderstand a person, and we imagine them as monstrous, and then when we discover more about them, we realize, oh, they're not the monster I thought it was. There is a truth to that, but it's just not as scary of a story to me. So I guess that maybe that shifts it into a slightly different subgenre than direct horror, But yeah, let me know your guys' opinions about that. And that concludes my review of Nocturnal Blood by Villimey Mist. And let me know if you guys are interested in reading the book and your thoughts about the review. And if you want to connect with the author, there's her website, VillimeyMistAuthor.com, and her Twitter handle is VillimeyS. And I'll see you guys next time. This is DeathGroundReviews. See ya.